We've all heard that old saying, right? The absolutely only way to win in a casino is to own one. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself exactly why that is? Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're totally peeling back the curtain on the multi-billion-dollar gambling industry. And spoiler alert, it's not magic, and it's certainly not luck. It is a meticulously designed system. Let's dive in and see exactly how the house ensures it literally never goes home empty-handed.
To really understand the casino's secret weapon, let's take a quick rewind back to the fiery summer of the 2010 World Cup. Remember Paul the Octopus? This little cephalopod became an absolute global sensation because he perfectly predicted the outcome of 8 consecutive World Cup matches. Now, mathematically speaking, the exact probability of making 8 correct choices in a row with only win or lose options is a staggering 0.39%. To millions of fans around the world, Paul looked like this magical oracle straight out of a fantasy novel.
So, we really have to ask ourselves, was it magic or just math? Well, the truth is a little bit less romantic. According to the law of large numbers, when you have thousands of different animals across the globe attempting to predict games that year, a random streak of perfect guesses is actually just a statistical inevitability. One of them was statistically bound to get it right. Paul wasn't magic, he was just a lucky data point in a massive, naturally occurring sample size.
So casinos and betting rings absolutely love it when you believe in luck, destiny, and those thrilling hot streaks. They really want you focused on your individual fortune. But the house, they honestly don't care about luck at all. They strictly rely on volume and scale. They're playing an entirely different game than we are. See, the house doesn't gamble on individual moments, they rely on massive sample sizes. It's like flipping a coin a million times. The results will aggressively flatten out to 50%. Casinos use this exact math to tilt the probability in their favor. Let's look at a European roulette wheel. You've got 18 red spaces and 18 black spaces. If it stopped right there, it'd be a perfectly fair 50-50 game. But that sneaky little green zero completely shatters the illusion of fairness. Because of that one single space, your true probability of winning on red drops from an even 50% down to 48.6%. That leaves a tiny, seemingly insignificant gap of 1.4%. And hey, to a player placing just a single bet, 1.4% feels totally negligible, right? But to the casino, over tens of thousands of spends and millions of dollars in wagers, that tiny, almost invisible buffer is a literal money-printing machine. They don't actually need you to lose every single time. They just need to quietly collect their guaranteed 1.4% cut of the total volume over time.
In the world of sports betting, bookmakers operate way more like Wall Street risk managers than actual gamblers. They aren't placing bets, they are managing liabilities. When a fan bets on a massive clash, let's say Manchester City versus Liverpool, they're driven by emotion, team loyalty, and those gut feelings. The bookmakers, however, completely devoid of emotion. They use supercomputers, armies of data scientists, and algorithms that analyze literally thousands of variables, from head-to-head records down to the most subtle injury reports. It is pure passion up against a cold, analytical matrix.
Before a single bet is ever even accepted, the bookies establish a true probability base. For example, their data might show a 35% chance for a Man City win, a 33% chance for Liverpool, and a 32% chance for a draw. And get this, they don't do this to predict the exact final score. No, they do it to mathematically set safe margins before the game even kicks off, laying down the rock-solid foundation for their odds.
And this leads to their ultimate defense mechanism: balancing the money scale. If everyone suddenly bets on Man City because they're the hot favorites, the house faces a massive risk if Man City actually pulls off the win. So to protect themselves, they dynamically shift the odds. They'll lower the payout for Man City or raise it for Liverpool. The entire goal here is to entice bettors to put money on the other side, balancing the total cash wagered across all the outcomes. When that scale is balanced, the house collects its commission regardless of who actually wins on the pitch. It's this brilliant closed financial loop where they simply redistribute the losers' money to the winners and keep a guaranteed cut for themselves.
Okay, here is the genuinely terrifying part. Even if you completely understand the cold hard math we just talked about, the house uses incredibly advanced psychological manipulation to bypass your logic entirely. They aren't just hacking your wallet anymore, they're literally hacking your brain. The cornerstone of this manipulation is something famously known as the gambler's fallacy. It's this totally erroneous belief that if a random event happens frequently now, it is somehow due to happen less in the future. So in a game like Sickbo or Over-Under, if the dice roll over 5 times in a row, a little voice in the player's head starts absolutely screaming that an under is mathematically overdue.
But here is the hard truth. The dice have absolutely no memory. Every single roll, every single spin is a completely independent event. A roulette wheel doesn't remember that it just landed on red. The probability of hitting under on the sixth roll is exactly the same as it was on the very first roll. Yet casinos deliberately display these massive, colorful screens showing past results. Why? Strictly to encourage this destructive, pattern-seeking behavior. They are luring you into making larger bets based on a completely false premise.
And then, oh man, we have the near-miss effect, which is just incredibly potent. Imagine you're playing a slot machine and you miss the massive jackpot by literally 1 millimeter. Or you bet on a football team that gets tied up by a heartbreaking equalizer in the final seconds of extra time. Logically, a loss is just a loss, right? But biologically, your brain actually experiences a glitch. It registers that devastating near miss as a thrilling near win, initiating this massive cascade of euphoria.
That euphoria is entirely powered by dopamine. Dopamine is essentially the fuel of the gambler. Neuroscience shows us that this flood of chemicals creates a super dangerous illusion of impending victory. It makes you feel like you are right on the edge of winning the whole shebang, triggering this desperate, uncontrollable urge to keep playing and chase your losses. At that point, you aren't even playing for the money anymore. You are playing purely for the dopamine hit.
All of this math and psychology is housed within physical spaces literally weaponized against human biology. Places like Las Vegas and Macau, they are masterclasses in environmental manipulation. They feature these completely claustrophobic design choices. Absolutely no windows, 0 clocks on the walls, endless hypnotic neon lights, and hey, free drinks brought right to your seat. These aren't just fun, aesthetic choices. They're meticulously engineered to induce a trance-like state that entirely erases your perception of time, space, and reality outside those doors. You have no idea if it's noon or midnight. And as time blurs, your ability to make rational decisions severely deteriorates.
Then, there's the absolutely brilliant trick of swapping your real, emotionally significant hard-earned cash for weightless plastic chips. Throwing down a little piece of plastic just feels like a game. It drastically lowers the psychological barrier to making dangerously large bets. Honestly, it's so much easier to push a chip worth $1,000 onto a table than it is to manually count out and hand over $1,000 in physical bills. The casino creates this false, safe-feeling environment where your money loses its real-world meaning entirely.
The source material summarizes this whole dynamic with a really striking analogy. It says, "It is like a clash between a small, lonely David with naive faith and the giant Goliath equipped with the weapons of mathematics, probability, and behavioral psychology." It really highlights a sobering reality. Players are willingly stepping into an overwhelmingly unfair fight with absolutely zero chance of long-term survival. The house has rigged the battlefield before you even walk through the doors.
So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to think about. Was it ever really a game to begin with? From that tiny green zero on the roulette wheel to the lack of clocks on the walls, every single detail is part of a carefully calibrated financial machine. The player's empty pockets aren't an accident of bad luck at all. They are the meticulously planned foundation of the casino's eternal wealth. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the numbers and psychology of the house. Stay curious and keep learning.